Hey, how are we all doing today? It is a fresh, windy, miserable, rainy, cold day in the workshop today. Yeah, right, well, the fire's been roaring all day and I think maybe hit double figures today, maybe. It's not the warmest. Come check the fire out, right? Check it out, it is roaring in there, man. But still nippy here in the workshop. It's nice here, man. I love being in this workshop, but when the wind, because of the fields, when the wind gets up, it gets cold. Anyway, today we are going to have a look at the Axminster dual drum sander. We'll have a look, take a couple of panels off, show you what it's in like inside, talk about setup, talk about the bits and pieces that you need to be able to run the machine, and give you our opinion on it. Cool, awesome. We'll let the intro roll and we'll get cracking then. Alright, okay, so this is the beast that is the dual drum sander. So this is the AT635DS, so the Alpha Tango 635 Delta Sierra drum sander. It is a dual drum sanding unit. I've got the catalogue here, so you'll have to bear with us. I'll read off a couple of the specs just to make sure I get everything right. So it's 2.2 kilowatt motor, it's 230 volt, it's single phase, which is awesome, but it is a 16 amp feed, and I would highly, I know a lot of people, they try and run them off of 13 amp plugs and stuff. Because you've got the 2.2 kilowatt motor for the actual sanding drums, and then you have a small motor which feeds the conveyor belt, I'd highly recommend chucking on a 16 amp supply, which is what we have it on at the moment. Dust extraction, it comes with two 100mm ports on the top, which I'll show you in 2 seconds. In the book it says minimum extraction airflow required 1500 meter cubed per hour, and you need absolute minimum 1500 meter cubed per hour. We have a Felder AF16 extractor, which I think is about 2,500, maybe 3,000 meter cubed per hour, which works. We've tried to run it on less than that and it doesn't work. I'll explain that in a minute. But yes, so those are the basic specs. It's 180 kilos. It is 1143 millimeters by 711 millimeters by 1320 millimeters. Alright, so let's have a look at this unit. So this is it basically. Obviously, got your two 100mm ports there, grated off to make sure nothing naughty gets sucked in. You have a little Allen bolt here with a security switch in here to stop this from running without the guard down. What else have we got? You've got your IP54 NVR switch. This is to power the actual drums. This is to power the conveyor belt with your speed control just here. As you can see, it's just a little 130 watt motor, and this is what powers the conveyor belt. One of the things I love about the conveyor belt is we had the old type drum sander, the 1632. This has got a proper conveyor belt. The other one had got like a huge sanding belt, which was mega expensive to replace. Obviously this is going to be mega expensive to replace, but we can make a lot more money with this. Here are the specs. Let's see if we can focus in on them. Come on. There we go, look. So the code is 106004. It's the AT635DS, 2.2 kilowatt, 6th horsepower. Whoop. 6th horsepower for this motor here for the conveyor belt, and there's all your information. Right, so how did it arrive? From what I remember, it arrived on one pallet. Now, being 180 kilos, I moved this on my own and it was hard work, so I'd really suggest making sure there's a couple of you here when it gets delivered. How does it work? Real simple. Obviously you've got your 16 amp commando plug here on this end that plugs into the wall. You will turn it on, pull the NVR switch, click it on, and it will turn on. If you haven't got a 16 amp supply, man, well, you need one. that's the end of that conversation. So we unscrew this, have a look inside. Right, so being a dual drum sander, it makes our life really good. So really simple with some of the products that we make. So we have 150 on the front here, 120 or 150 on the front here, and 240 on the back. And then when we do a hand sand, we can just run 320 over everything, or 320 over everything, and that's it. You've got a lever here, raises and lowers the table, nice and simple. You've got your finger gauge here, but we don't really use that, to be honest. As a rule of thumb, I never trust any of the gauges. I don't trust the gauge that you have on your saw. I don't trust the gauge that you have on here. It's just my personal preference. I always do everything by eye, calipers, or measuring tape. You have a little disc here with some information on it. This is to raise and lower this drum, and obviously you've got one on both sides, so that way you can set them both to the same thing, and it will raise this drum in or out of the way, so you can have it sanding, or you can have it not sanding. We obviously have it sanding, but only the tiniest amount. Things to remember with these units: they are not thickness planers. It's not a thickness sander, it is like a finishing sander, right? You don't want to be using this to try and for stock removal. That's just not what it's built for. So it's nicely made. We've got a couple decent belts here on some plastic pulleys. Not like plastic's plastic, but I mean, they're not going to go anywhere. They're thick as that. They're maybe, the walls on them I think are about 3 or 4 mil thick, so nice and thick. This is the security switch, or the safety switch. This won't run if this isn't down. These belts, when you buy them from Axminster, they are not cheap. I think they're like £38. £38 is it? 30. So just looking at the Axminster book, yeah, 35, 34, 34, 34 for a single belt. Oh, and the conveyor belt, £175. So want to look after this, that's for sure. So 35, 40 quid for these each. One of the really important things with your dust extraction is to make sure it's adequate. If the dust extraction isn't adequate, what's going to happen is you're going to get dust. Oh, man, it's cold. My brain's not working. You're going to get sawdust underneath the sandpaper. Because it's going to get underneath the sandpaper, because it's not extracted enough, that's then going to make, it's going to stretch it, and you risk it getting creases and crumpled. It gets underneath itself and it tears. And we probably lost 2 belts, I think, since we got it. We've had it maybe 8 months, and since we got the extraction sorted on it properly, it's not been a problem. So that's something to remember, is to make sure you've got the right amount of dust extraction. So I know I keep going on about it, but the right dust extraction and the right electricity supply, because this thing is a beast. Right then, battery died, so you'll have to excuse us. So to change the sandpaper, it's really simple. It will have one on it when it comes from the factory. So what we did was we took that off and used that as the template for the next one. And that's all we do. We have them as templates now. I got a couple made up. It just clips in here at the end, just here. You squeeze this up. This piece comes this way. I'm not going to do it because it's going to loosen it all off, and then it can be a bit of a pig to sort out when it's on anyway, like this. So you squeeze this piece here comes down, you slot it in, you let go of it, it springs back up, and the friction of it holds it in. You then loop it all the way around, all the way back down to here, and then when you get down to this end, where are we at? Right, so what you've got in here is a spring. Let me see if I've got a torch, just lighten that up a little bit. Right there, that's better. So what you've got inside there is a spring. It's coiled around this central bit here with a piece and a bracket. You squeeze this in and you push this in, and this is like your tensioner basically, so this keeps tension on this. Now it is worth remembering, if this starts to flap, or you're using it and you hear a tap 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 stop, come and check this, because this belt might have come loose. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. That's how simple it is to change the sandpaper. Talked about the extraction, talked about the dust extraction needed. Right, let's take some panels off and see what it's like inside, shall we? Okay, so here she is with the side panels off. Real simple to get those off. You've got one screw each at the top, one screw each at the bottom, that's it, and then they just pop off. So you can see you've got the big motor in here with the belt drive, which just goes straight up to the pulleys up here. We've got a nice cast steel bracket, I think. So you've got one of those on both sides. That is with like the lead screw and the lead nut, I'm guessing, in here. That's what moves the conveyor belt up and down. So obviously this is, you've got what, maybe 4 inches, 100mm here, and a 3/4 inch screw. So that thing ain't going nowhere. So that's nice and tight, nice and strong. Same goes for the bracket at the bottom. That's on this side. And then, yeah, on this side, as you can see, when we, I don't know if you can hear, but that is just mega smooth, beautiful. So obviously we need to add into our maintenance schedule a little bit more cleaning, maybe some blowing out with the air compressor. It's covered in grease down here, so that's good. And you've got your steel pinions here, I think, which got a bar that goes all the way through to the other side and raise it up on the other side and back. Oh, for conveyor belt adjustment, you've got 2 bolts, one here, one on the other side, which will obviously help you move it this way and this way, which is going to help this to track. And yeah, I mean, really, that's about it. There's not a huge amount to them. I think that is it. Right, let's have a quick chat then. So yeah, so what do you think of the machine then? I genuinely really love it. It is a big expense. Looking at it, this is last year's catalogue, I think, and it's in here for $2,449.98, so $2,450. It's a lot of money. You've got to be able to warrant the work for the unit. As is with everything when you start to get this sort of size and that sort of price, it's more down to how much money is it going to save you in terms of time, right? Or how much time is it going to save you so that you can make additional money. We have a couple of products that we sell that we would not be able to sell at the quantity that we do if we didn't have this machine. So it's a no-brainer for us. We tried and tried and tried, but with sanding is such a labour intensive job that even like we have a Merca 6-inch Merca Duros sander and the Festal MIDI for the dust extraction. So I mean, really, we're not using cheap rubbish, and it's still real hard on your wrists, on your elbows, on your shoulders and your neck when you're just sitting there. And the Merca's got like a Bluetooth app where it can tell you how many, tell you what your vibration levels are and stuff like that, let you know if you're doing yourself damage. But even with that, just using it for hours and hours and hours. I mean, we were doing like, the royal we, because it wasn't me, it was Michelle, was sanding for like 4 or 5 hours a day every day, which is too much, absolutely too much. And that's one of the reasons why we got this machine over here, because let's be honest, if she's happy, I'm happy. I'm happier than she is if she's not happy, I'll tell you that for sure. So yeah, so what? Is there anything really to remember over it? So you can do a single width pass in 635mm wide. The widest thing that we do is maybe like 450, so we don't really bock it down. A lot of what we do with it is birch ply, so that'll give you an idea of the sort of timber that we're sanding on it. I genuinely love the machine, but it is a beast. It is very expensive. I mean, but it's all relative, right? If you were looking at like a wide belt sander and they're looking at like 5, 10, 15 or even 20 grand for some of the bigger ones, 2.5's not anything bad really. And plus having the dual drum sander, because it's dual drums, it means that we can just put it in, send it through, and it's had 2 passes effectively, and then we take it out and just give it a quick once over. I would say it's taken that 4 or 5 hours down to maybe 1.5, 1. Yeah, I think that's, to be fair, when you couple that with the big brush sander that we've got, like that yellow thing there, from Gibbs Sandtech, it's really safe, there's no end of hassle. And I think it's sort of like, yeah, like I said, it's down to the time, what's going to happen when you save the time, what you can do, and the physical wear, right? So I'm looking at getting a log splitter. It's not that I can't split the logs by hand, it's not like it's too much for me, too much work, even some of the harder, thicker ones. It's just that the physical toll that it's going to take on your body doing it day in, day out is just not worth the money that you'd save. Even if you went, I'm rambling, even if you went for like a 25-ton splitter and it was like £1,000, what is that amount of money to you when you can't like get out of bed in the morning because your shoulder's stuffed, or you can't drive to work because your neck hurts, or it's just not worth the hassle, right? But yeah, so that is the tool. I'd love to know what you think about it. I would love to know whether you think it's worth the money, whether you think it's worthwhile picking one up. I would genuinely like to know if you like the video. I'd love a like and subscribe and all that sort of rubbish. That would be perfect, because it helps me know that I'm doing the right thing. By all means, if you don't like something or you think I've done something rubbish, put it down in the comments. I will reply to you. So, but yeah, let me know what you think. You have an awesome day. And just so you know, the reason it's not powered up at the moment, I don't know if I said at the start, is I've got an additional 16 amp power supply being put in for the felder. So that's why it's away from the wall, that's why it's unplugged, and that's why I can't show you it working. But I might have some footage taken on my phone, some slow-mo work of when we do our timber processing for a couple of clients. So if I can find it, I'll stick that up right at the end. You'll have a great day, you take it easy, and I shall catch you next time.